Hi, welcome to Couchversations with Dr. Adrienne, the fix at 6. Life is like a pretzel. When I say to y'all, I have had a day today, but I am here and we are going to have this couchversation. And, I wanted to have this couchversation a couple of weeks ago, but, you know, God always seems to work his magic. And so things happen in his timing. And, I think most of you know that I was in a car accident and my G baby and I were rear ended. And so that has kind of put a pause in my life in a couple of respects. But I'm on the mend and back in the saddle again, not 100% by any stretch of the imagination, but all I can do is to do my best. So, here we go. Life is like a pretzel. So, of course, when I wanted to have this couchversation, all the buzz was going on about Will and Jada and entanglements. And so I still felt like it was necessary and feel like I have gotten some confirmations along the way that this conversation still needed to be had. Probably won't end up the way that you all are thinking, but we're going to have this conversation anyway. So I was not aware of the red table talk because I don't really do reality type televisions, videos, that sort of thing. And so typically it's because someone has informed me of it that I will get the information. And so I did hear about it and was interested enough to check it out. And so I did. And I watched the video. I think a couple of people sent it to me. And I think I had a perspective that was different from quite a few people. And that's because with my trained eye, I look at things a little differently. So wanted to go back and watch it in preparation for today's topic. Life is like a pretzel, because sometimes you got me all twisted up in the game, boo. And so I took some notes, and y'all know me, I have to refer to my notes because sometimes my thoughts are so numerous that I don't want to miss anything. So took some notes here. So I'm going to start with my notes. And so what was interesting to me was just the dialogue that was being had between Will and Jada Smith, because similar to the couples that I deal with, you can have one situation and two people who see the one situation totally different. And as a result, a lot of times I'll ask, were both of y'all there? Do y'all live in the same house? Because when you listen to the conversation, you get two different perspectives. And that's because they're two different people. So I took some notes. And so some of the things that were illuminating for me. The first one was the statement, this was a personal journey that became public. I really felt like we could be over, is what Will said. And Jada's response was, no, we were over. And so Will and Jada had separated amicably, according to them. And Jada got into an entanglement. And Will corrected her and said, a relationship. At one point, he called it an interaction with this young man, August. Jada said that she was looking to feel good and help heal someone else, and that her codependency is what fueled her desire to fix others instead of fixing herself and her issues. Now, Will called it a transgression, and Jada stated that she didn't see it as a transgression because she matured and healed through it, and she had self-discovery of ugly truths and beauty inside of herself. One of the things that was stated is that, they brought this out, but that was not their choice. They were bringing it out sort of because they were forced to bring it out. And the fear was that they were not able to make mistakes without losing their family. Some other things that they said that I just thought were pretty illuminating. Will said there's real power in knowing that someone is riding with you no matter what. And he stated that early on in the first year of their marriage, he said, you know, I can love you through anything. And Jada said that she didn't know if he could be willing to find the deep capacity to love her. Will said to Jada, I'm going to get you back. And Jada said, I think that you have gotten me back. I think we're good on that. Which was pretty illuminating for me. That's that part where I think that, some people and I had a difference of opinions because what I saw was Jada not throwing her husband under the bus. But anyway, I don't want to digress into that conversation because that's not really what I'm here to talk about. They're just the foundation for my discussion about entanglement. So let's define entanglement. Entanglement is a complicated or compromising relationship or situation. Complicated is consisting of many interconnecting parts or elements. So we're talking about a complicated, compromising relationship or situation consisting of many interconnecting parts or elements. Now, as we know, pretzels have a signature shape that resemble a knot. Pretzels are known to be twisted, buttery, and salty and taste good, but aren't always good for us. So when we talk about, what went on between Will and Jada, I think a lot of people made assumptions because what we do is we tend to interject ourselves into other people's business. And so people don't realize that entangle, compromising relationship or situation, and all these interconnecting parts, y'all, sometimes we get entangled into some stuff that really has nothing to do with us. So, see, y'all thought I was coming on here to talk about Will and Jada. I don't have anything to say because here's the thing. Their situation was made public because they are celebrities. We don't know what went on in those folk household. We don't know what conversations are had. And if you think about it, a lot of us would be messed up if our stuff was on Front Street like theirs. So I'm not talking about entanglement in terms of Will and Jada. Oftentimes we find ourselves in complicated relationships and situationships, entanglements, because we lack boundaries. We all get entangled because we complicate our friendships, relationships, kinships, and situationships by not honoring the truths of others. We want our truths to be their truths instead of accepting and respecting what they need from us in order to make the thing work. We want to interject our views and values, inspect the beliefs and desires of others, interpret what people say instead of accepting that they said what they said, and interfere and intervene with other folks' decisions when we have not been invited into their decision-making process. We get entangled because of being over-responsible. That's taking ownership of things that don't belong to you. Overworked, taking on your assignments plus those identified for others out of your desire to be acknowledged or helpful. Over-responsive, going beyond what is asked or required of you, in essence, doing the right things for the wrong reasons, somehow making it all about you. You get entangled when you're taking on more than you can handle. You're volunteering and raising your hand to assist because you somehow think that the COVID-19 shutdown, work from home, has afforded you more hours in the day instead of the same 24. You're taking ownership of your grown kids' problems and issues. You're using manipulation and control to get what you want from people instead of being honest and direct. And you're trying to resolve issues and problems that belong to other people that aren't really issues for them, but because you see them as such. You've got your magic wand of resolution casting a spell upon them. We have to learn to set boundaries. A boundary is something that shows where one thing ends and one thing begins. When we learn to establish boundaries inside of all of our relationships, by first recognizing what compels us to do the things we do, we decrease the likelihood that we will end up in an entanglement, a complicated or compromising relationship or situation. So, y'all, there it is. See, this wasn't about Will and Jade at all. Because even their situation and the way that that whole concept about entanglement took on a life of its own, people wanted to sit in judgment of them. And so what I am here to talk about, y'all, is about boundaries. Too often we sit in judgment of other people. Y'all, everybody's poop stinks. Everybody sins and falls short. And so who is it that gets to decide whose sin is bigger than anybody else's sin? Nobody but God. But y'all, we get entangled in other folks' business, their lives, their situations, even down to the smallest thing, because we like control. Y'all, I'm at my daddy's office, and so that's his phone. So I just politely hung up on somebody. Y'all know when I'm in Tuskegee, the environment is different. So you might hear some folk howling. You might hear some gunshots in the woods. There's no telling. So I do apologize. But anyway, we get wrapped up in thinking that our values and our beliefs, our upbringing is the right way. And y'all, it's that type of thinking that keeps you in these entanglements, in these situations that compromise the relationships that you have. Because it doesn't just have to be a romantic relationship. Y'all, it happens in family reunions. Now, I will say that this year is probably happening less because you probably have less families that are congregating the traditional way for family reunions. But just think about it. How many times did you get into an argument because your cousin wanted a yellow shirt for the family reunion and you wanted a green shirt? And so something as minute as the color of a shirt became such an issue that now we got people in conflict. And that's where these entanglements come from. It's a difference of belief systems, values, and opinions. And so even when it comes to what goes on inside of people's personal relationships, their romantic relationships, I listen to people all the time and they say, well, you're not supposed to do that in a marriage. You're not supposed to do this in a marriage. You're not supposed to raise your kids that way. You're not supposed to. And you got all these people who want to talk about what we should and should not be doing. Y'all, the best way to stay unentangled is to mind your own business. Seriously. And so you have to learn to have conversations with people that are directly responsive to you. And when I mean say directly responsive to you, I mean the people that you are probably in a committed relationship with, in a marriage with, or raising. And that's under the age of probably 21 years old. Because when they get to be a certain age, even that is going to become an issue when you start trying to tell folk what they should and should not do. Y'all, sometimes the best teacher is life itself. Even inside of a romantic relationship, you know, everybody brings to the table who they are. And so you have to be willing to have discussions of honesty and openness about what we will and will not tolerate inside of this. And so, as an aside, on the Will and Jada thing, it has been rumored forever that they have an open relationship. And so I just felt like, wow, why are people all up on these folk, even the celebrities? When I thought about the celebrities who were weighing in, I said, they sitting up acting like that shit don't stink. I'm sorry, y'all know my mouth. But seriously, because some of those same people who were all on Will and Jada, and y'all, listen, I love people. So I love Will and Jada just like I love whoever the next person is. I respect them because they're human beings. And so I'm not somebody who gets to judge them because they don't have to answer to me. They don't have to answer to y'all. They don't have to answer to any of us. And so what we fail to realize is that those people are illuminated because they are celebrities. And if somebody were to pull the curtain back on your junk, you would probably be pretty embarrassed too. Think about what that must have felt like for them to have to feel like they've got to come public with something because somebody has gotten a hold of it or decided to disclose something, however it is that it came out. Because y'all, I don't even know that much about the situation. My point is, none of us are perfect. And so we have to be very, very careful in terms of how we insert ourselves into other people's lives. Even the people that are up close and personal with us, your coworkers, you sitting up trying to give folk advice that didn't ask you for your advice. You know, as a therapist, I'm not giving you advice because you're your best decision maker. I'm going to be responsible for my decisions, not the decisions in your life. And so if you ask me, Dr. Adrienne, what would you do if you were me? I'm going to tell you I would do what you would do because I would be you. And so operating that way keeps me from being entangled. Yeah. So the next time that you decide you want to put your tongue on somebody else's business, y'all, and I'm talking about people up close and personal with you. I'm talking about your coworkers. I'm talking about your kids. I'm talking about your family and your friends. I'm talking about your spouses. Stop and think. Stop and think about whether or not what you are about to do is about to complicate the situation. Because sometimes your opinion complicates it. It entangles you in some stuff that you ain't had no business getting yourself into. And so sometimes we have to figure out, y'all, what's really more important? Is it the preservation of the relationship or is it you voicing your opinion? So life is like a pretzel. And sometimes, y'all, we get all twisted up in the game for no reason. We are trying to impose who we are on the people around us. And so, you know, y'all, sometimes I hear some of the silliest discussions between my couples, for example. And so we can all be anal about stuff. But here's the thing, inside of relationships, and remember, relationships are friendships, kinships, situationships, all of those are relationships. We have to be willing to compromise. It can't always be your way or the highway. And guess what? You're not always right anyway. You think you are, but you're not always right because right or wrong, in Dr. Adrienne's opinion, is determined by what I can be arrested for. Is it legal or illegal? Because that's what's going to make it right or wrong in my book. Some of y'all may not agree with that. But guess what? What that does for me, it keeps me from inserting my values and belief systems onto other folk. Are you going to get arrested for this? No. Do I like your behavior? Might not. But you can't get arrested for it? Okay, good. It ain't going to come back to bite me? Okay, good. Do you? And so I think that we have to all concentrate more on working on who we are, becoming our best self, because becoming your best self probably means that you are less entangled in other folks' business. So there it is. It ain't real hard. Life is like a pretzel. Sometimes you got me all twisted up, but sometimes you got me all twisted up because I'm trying to get all up in your business and I shouldn't be. So you ain't got to be in knots. You ain't got to be in other people's business. It's called communication and it's called having boundaries, knowing when one thing ends and when another thing begins. And so the ending and beginning of you is with you. It's not with another person. So you don't get to insert who you are onto other people, especially when they're not asking you to. So there it is, y'all. Couchversations with Dr. Adrienne. The fix is 6. Life is like a pretzel. Don't get twisted up in the game that ain't yours. Stay out of other folk business. Keep your 2 cents to you. And you know what else? Y'all, even when people are sometimes asking you your opinion, they really don't want your opinion. People want you to co-sign on their foolishness. That's what they really want. They are looking for you to give an okay, a stamp of approval on what they're already doing. So if you're not in agreement with what they're doing, don't even go down that rabbit hole and get in that conversation. Change the subject. That way you won't get yourself entangled. So there it is. Love you all so much. I have missed you. And you know, when my G baby and I were in that accident, I said, when you are 53, you feel things a lot differently than when you are 23. Because when we were rear-ended on the highway, I immediately felt all kind of aches and pains that I wanted to talk myself out of, that my body would not allow me to talk myself out of. So got to do some self-care and get me back together. So thank you for your prayers and concerns and your text messages and your calls. If I did not respond to you, it was probably because I was resting, something that my body is not used to, and I enjoyed every minute of it. Gonna probably try to practice that a little bit more often. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you, love you, love you so much. And you know, I miss being able to see the comments, you know, because my bonus son Derek has this set up on StreamYard. But I miss being able to see the comments scrolling. It's probably something that I'm doing or not doing. So, you know, hopefully he'll be able to help me fix that, because I like to give out shout outs. So, but love you all so much. And remember, life is like a pretzel. Sometimes you got me twisted in the game, boo. But sometimes staying out of people's business and minding your own will keep you from being entangled. So love y'all. Have a great weekend.